And I remember exactly walking into a canteen years ago before COVID when I was on my way to meet the Judith. I was so thrilled to be working with her. And I was a bit, not anxious, but you kind of go, okay, let's see. I hope she likes me. I hope she likes my ideas. I hope this goes well. And I remember walking in and we got coffee. And as you do when you're a bit nervous, I just went, blah, blah, blah. I remember about 2 minutes in going, she's not looking at me like I'm crazy. Good.
Let's get this show on the road. Wherever you are, get in your car and come on down, enjoy a show. If it's your first time, well, jump on in. By the end of this drive, you'll be a Shavian. No, let's get this show on the road.
Episode 2, Kelly.
Here we go.
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
Well, at least we can't turn back.
No, this train is going and we're on it. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, it's been an interesting time, full days. There's always that gear change coming out of the winter into the spring rehearsal season as we head to openings and shows running. And there's always this real brain and body shift of, oh, right, I have to stay up late for rehearsal.
Yeah. That's the hardest part. So when we start, for most of the ensemble, when we come and join, we are rehearsing essentially 10 to 6:30 hours.
Yeah.
We'll start and we'll do maybe one rehearsal in the morning, switch to another show in the afternoon, and then we're having dinner at a normal time and then asleep. Like everyone else in the world.
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, we swap over and we become night owls. We're performing until, depending on the show you're in, maybe 11 o'clock. And then you get home and you're trying to wrestle all your thoughts to bed.
Really settle that adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. It's an amazing thing to think that we work in this repertory way, that we have this idea of repertory theater. This is where we actually get to work on 2 shows, sometimes 3, simultaneously, by the way that the days split and the rehearsals and the shows when you start. And then we've got this long-running season, right? I mean, you're going to go till Christmas. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So this year I'm in Anything Goes and Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. We'll speak with Selma and Judith from Lion Witch in a few moments here. But both of those shows go until, I want to say, the first weekend of October. And then right after we close that, we get back into the hall to do White Christmas. And then that'll bring us to Christmas time.
Wow. It's so interesting. Again, it's such a gift. We are at the Shaw Festival, one of the last remaining repertory companies that have these long runs.
If anyone doesn't know what repertory theater is.
Oh, good point.
Versus regional theater or stock theater. In a typical stock theater, the company, the directors, the designers, they'll all come in. They'll build a show, a single show. They'll put it up. It'll play for however many weeks. And then that'll go down. And then they'll move on to the next one. And the theater season would have maybe 5, 6, 7 shows in it. Mm-hmm. Whereas rep, we have multiple plays playing at the same time. Mm-hmm. This season, we have 13 different productions. Some are on the main stage, some are in the George, the studio, the Spiegel tent. Every actor who's with the company is performing in at least 2 different productions at the same time. So, you might go and see your favorite actor doing a hilarious farce in the afternoon, and then that evening they're doing like a dark, gritty drama. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we love as rep actors is that gift to be able to flex your muscles in many different ways. It's a great training ground. We get to do all the things at the same time. It's really a special place and unfortunately a more and more unique place than it used to be.
Yeah. I remember last season was the ultimate crunch season of rep working for me as a movement director. And that's my role here at the Shaw Festival as an artist, as I work here as a movement director and a movement coach. We started with One Man, Two Governors. And I was also on House That Will Not Stand.
Yeah,
but the one
know.
thing that we hadn't figured out just before I had signed my contract and didn't realize until rehearsals got underway was House That Will Not Stand and One Man, Two Governors rehearsed at the exact same time. And the design assistant was also working on it. she and I would be in One Man, Two Governors. We would stay for like an hour and run across the hall into House I Will Not Stand and try to catch
All sweaty
what was
and out of
happening there.
breath.
Work on transitions there, do quick take, okay, back over to One Man, Two Governors. Both stage managers texting us, hey, could you come back? We're looking at this scene. When can we expect you back in the hall?
As you say that, it makes me think we got to get Jeff Cummings, who is our planning director, the
Yes.
person who is in charge of and somehow masterminds all of these different puzzle pieces together. We got to get him on here. And
we do.
hear
Definitely
how
do.
that actually works.
Put that on the list. I love it. But today, on today's list, we are going to talk Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which you play Aslan in. And we're going to talk to Selma Dimitrijevic and Judith Bowden. Selma is the director. I got to work with Selma on Baroness and the Pig. And I also worked on Village Wooing with her. And then she did Mother-Daughter in the Spiegel Tent as well. She actually started Desire Under the Elms when the pandemic hit. I'm glad that she's here again to work on this production for sure. It's such a treat when she's in the building.
And then Judith Bowden, who is designing the show. We're going to talk to her as well, a little bit about her process and working with Selma. You just recently came back from the UK working with Judith. Is that right?
Yeah, we were at the Royal Shakespeare Company together doing Othello that TC was directing, and Judith came over as well with us to do set and costume designs.
Before we sit down with Judith and Selma, you had a chance to sit down with TC and ask him about what it took to program Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe into the season. Let's have a listen.
Well, we were always going to finish with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for two reasons. One of them is because, in a way, it's beautiful to come back round to the beginning. And the other one, to be brutally frank, is because the last book in the Narnia series, which is called The Last Battle, is not one that I would want to put on stage. It's rather downbeat and grim. I remember as a kid reading it thinking, oh, thanks a lot, Lewis. So I'm very happy to finish with this, which, as his first written Narnia book, it's not the first chronologically, but as the first he wrote, has a kind of freshness and optimism about it, which, in a very interesting way, starts to disappear over the course of the novels.
And what is it about programming a family show?
Well, I remember when I was leaving university. This is a roundabout answer, but as you know, that's the only kind you get from me. I was told by everyone, there's no point going into theatre because the audience are all getting old and they'll all die out soon and there'll be no audience for theatre. Well, that was back in the 19th century that I was leaving university, so that's clearly not true. We clearly have an audience, and indeed it's always been true that the audience is often a senior demographic. But I don't think that means you can be complacent about the future of theatre, because I think the older people who come to us when they have maybe got rid of their kids, paid off their mortgage, find themselves with a bit more free time and maybe some disposable income, those people come to the theatre because they remember going to the theatre as children. I think if you have a generation reaching that sweet spot for our audience who have never been to the theatre even as kids, I think there's no reason to suppose they would start coming when they're in their 50s and 60s. So for the future of this art form, which is so fundamental to the health of a society, it's incredibly important for us to have something that young parents can bring their young kids to. And it's incredibly refreshing and valuable to us as a company to have that audience. The responses we're getting in our shows is incredibly invigorating. There's no doubt that the pre-show workshop has in many ways become as important as the show itself as a selling point for parents and indeed for the kids, because I suppose there's a couple of things here. There's the pragmatic point that if you are driving down from Toronto or wherever, then you really should have a full day's worth of activities. You don't want to just drive down, park up, rush into the theatre, and then rush out again and hit the road. That's selling the kids short. So we really wanted a full day's experience for the kids. But more than that, the sense of excitement that you feel among the kids when they come into the theatre, much more primed for what's going to happen, ready to contribute to the show. It really fills me with a kind of hope for the future, because all you ever read about is how kids are so cynical and corrupted by their iPhones and so on. And I just think that's bollocks. You look at the kids coming into the theatre with their eyes like saucers with wonder and excitement. And the pre-show workshop sets them up for that in a way that really is a gift to our actors.
Selma, when did you figure out directing was where you wanted to be?
Oh, quite late, actually. Yeah, so I was in my almost mid-30s when I thought about directing.
What were you doing before that? Were you in theater?
Yeah, I started as a dancer, and then I studied dramaturgy, so I was mostly a writer. I wrote for stage and screen and just kind of made my living from that, from translating a lot. I moved from Croatia to the UK in 2001. And I was very, very kind of determined never to go anywhere near directing, because I would look at scripts and go, I have no idea how anyone knows how to do anything other than what says in stage directions. Like, genuinely, absolutely no idea. And then I'm not sure, I have no idea what happened. But one spring, there was a wonderful director in Glasgow who kind of invented this thing called the Play a Pie and a Pint, a lunchtime theatre.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Which became world famous then. Someone dropped out and he asked me if I want to direct it. And for whatever reason, I was like, yeah, of course I want to direct it. And then just kind of thought, actually, that makes total sense. That's where I belong, as well as writing. But yeah, I was maybe 33, 34 when I did my first play.
What was it?
I was a new play
Okay.
by a young Scottish writer, just an hour long. I mean, by that point, I was working theatre professionally for about 15 years. I'm suddenly kind of going, oh, okay, I don't know this, but I know this. I know the world, I know the tempo, I know the language, I know storytelling, and I know movement as a dancer. I just never did this bit. And then I had like 10 years of really, really hard learning. I did a couple of shows. I did one show at the same theatre. And one of the reviews said, these people should not be allowed to make theatre ever again. And we got a 1 star. And I was like, yeah, it was a terrible show. It was a terrible show. But then, because it was with my company, what we used to do, we used to test our shows and do iterations. And we kept developing that show and kept touring it. And like 4 years later, that show really took off and then like toured everywhere and toured internationally and became like a really, really lovely little one-person show. But you kind of had to go through that. And you have to go through that publicly, which is, as we all know, it's a thing.
It is not easy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I keep thinking about it, it's not hard as some other things, some other jobs, but at the same time, it's kind of, it's just a thing. You just keep forgetting every time. At least I do. Every time you do a show, you keep forgetting how public it is.
Yeah, we are under constant scrutiny, and anyone can come up to you anytime. And we have this at the Shaw Festival. So you're just sort of having a coffee, or you're going to the grocery store in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and someone walks up to you and goes, yeah, now why? I didn't think that part was very good. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I'm going to reach for the eggs now.
Exactly. And there's something there about a decision about, who are the people that you care about what they say and who are the people you don't. But you can't let it affect you and go, fine, you don't like it. And sometimes you just make a bad show. I'm sure we've all been there and go, this could have been better.
Yeah. And that ability to kind of shift and look at the next project and keep that kind of forward thinking, although it's so easy to kind of spiral downwards and get stuck into the misery of, oh God, will I ever work again? But that's really fascinating. Okay, Judith, I need to know, why did you go into design? Where does that come from?
I think I was always playing with my hands. Like, it was one of those things, and it took a long time to realize you could actually do that for a living. Because I always did things. I always thought through making things, and I still make things all the time, even though now design is a little wacky because you make part of it and then you hand it off and other people make it better. It's kind of the way that goes. But I think I always knew that I wanted to tell stories through making things, in a funny way to say it like that. But I started off obsessed with textile design, which I think is the same thing, because I think fabrics have an unbelievable wealth of story in them, like the dyes, the surface designs, like everything affects the shape of a garment. Like if you don't have a weaving loom of a particular size, no dresses that are made from that loom ever get beyond a certain size. Do you know what I mean? Like every step of the way, there's kind of a set of parameters that inform what that garment looks like. And so starting in textile design and ending up in theater, it's kind of the history of stuff. I'm just obsessed with what stuff holds as a storytelling mode. We all do it. Like you go to the beach, you pick up stones, you put them in your pocket. When you pull them out again, those stones have a memory of the journey to the beach, who you were with, what beach they were from. I think that's exactly what we're doing in the theater design. We're trying to sort of we're trying to imbue the stuff in that way, or we're hoping that when the performers interact with the stuff, that it gets that kind of history.
So was there a moment when you found theater or theater found you? How did that door open for you?
Well, I think two ways. Like, I think I was always super interested in live performance, and so I went to a lot of it. I just didn't understand that you could work in it. And I was doing a textile and clothing course, at university. And I had a tailoring professor that said, I think you should look into theater, because all the work you're doing, nobody will ever put this through a manufacturing. It was too complicated to go through manufacturing. And her son worked in theater. And so she said, have you ever thought that there is work in doing this? And I just hadn't. I don't know why I hadn't, because I went to tons of it. And I was obsessed with contemporary dance. I loved contemporary dance. I just never understood that there was someone working behind the scenes on any of it. And then suddenly I was like, oh, yes. Okay, so that's
a thing.
That's a
that
thing.
You can do, and
Yes.
you can have a job doing that.
Yes. So
And a career doing that.
Yep.
I'm going to jump back over to Selma for a second, and I just want to know what went through your head when TC asked you to direct Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I don't know what went through my head. I can tell you what I responded. I found I was picking up my boy from school, and we were walking home, and I saw the email saying, might you consider coming and directing this? And I fired an email back immediately going, yes, in brackets, can we pretend I played hard to get for months and you finally managed to convince me? because by accident, I saw the email like a minute and a half after he sent it. So we were like, yes. And then I was like, can I just say yes? Should I not be like, oh, I don't know. What's the money? Sorry.
Okay, so why did you jump on it so fast?
I mean, it's DC, it's the show. For me, it's the happiest place to work as a freelance director. It's an incredible ensemble. I mean, weird schedule sometimes. And you go, oh, okay, because it's different than anywhere else in the world. So you kind of have to go, oh, okay, I can't kind of fall into my patterns. I don't know exactly how to do this schedule-wise and structure-wise. But, to have the opportunity to work with actors I've been watching for 10 years, because I come in the years that I don't direct, I come every year to see other shows and to meet people. It's just incredible. Jeff and Christy, I've seen them on stage 8 years ago and every year since. And now I get to work with them and just the whole ensemble. It's a challenge. It's terrifying. Again, someone invites you to come in and direct a kids show, which is not something I've done a huge amount of, on a festival stage that opens first in the season with an ensemble of 18, with a creative team that we didn't know. It could be a group of 10 people that I've never met before. So it's completely terrifying.
So that's something really interesting, and maybe I'll get you both to kind of chat about this, is that we have this in the freelance world. There is this shotgun wedding relationship we have where we're walking into the room sometimes having never met the people we're about to create art with. And so for both of you, what's been the relationship between the two of you in getting to work together and getting to know each other's work in that process?
It is a very strange thing we do, but I feel like really, really quickly how you're going to get along with someone. And on the Lion, the Lion creative team, I am amazed at, I've never worked with James. James has never worked with me.
And James is
like the set consultant. He did a lot of the set work on the show. Brendan was around, but I had never worked with him. And
doing puppetry.
Yeah, I don't think you had either, right, Selma?
No. No, I've never worked with Brendan until this show. I've never met him before. For Brendan, it's so interesting because we were here for the R&D a few months ago, and 2 days in, we were kind of in a canteen, and someone said, how long have you and Brendan been working together? Like, how many years it's been? I've been like, I met him 2 days ago. And everyone was convinced that we are like working partnership. They've been working together for years. And I remember exactly walking into a canteen years ago, before COVID, when I was on my way to meet the Judith. I was so thrilled to be working with her. And I was a bit, not anxious, but you kind of go, okay, let's see. I hope she likes me. I hope she likes my ideas. I hope this goes well. And I remember walking in and we got coffee. And as you do when you're a bit nervous, I just went, blah, blah, blah. I remember about 2 minutes in going, she's not looking at me like I'm crazy. Good. And I feel like it's that kind of thing, exactly as you say. Sometimes you work with amazing, lovely, talented people, and you're just not the same tribe. And you kind of go, okay, I will be professional. I'll explain everything in the language that I think you will understand, and this will work fine. And sometimes, like it was with Judith, it's a bit like, I can just rant. I can wave my hands and say things that come to mind. And she will either know exactly what I mean, or she won't, and she'll go, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is it this or is it that? And it just, in that sense, it felt very, very easy and exciting. And what happens then, I think, which I find very exciting, that you never have that awkward period of going, so where are you from? And, what's your family and all that? You kind of meet each other through just like geeking about work. And then somehow 4 months later, you know a lot about each other, although you have never really talked about it. And I think that's what happened, at least for me. And that was just such fun and relief to know on both projects.
Yeah, I find that exactly the same. It's very true. In our group, it was often like some crazy movie reference, which you don't imagine has anything to do with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, except we have a little generational laugh, which sometimes happens.
Oh, that's getting very depressing these days.
We have a variety of generations that we're working with. So sometimes the movie references or the music references, they're like, what was that? And so... But that was often, it was like, just like Superman or the Transformers or whatever, which seems like it has nothing to do with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But, whenever it's one of these hero journey stories, like ultimately all these things do have something to do with it. And when James arrived, which I think was 3 days or 4 days into us meeting, also it was just like he dropped right in and it was amazing. It was great.
There was that moment that we were sitting in Judith's studio, and we knew that James was about to arrive, and I've never met him. I don't know about him, never met him on Zoom, anything. And we were sitting around the model box, and he walked in and said something about how that might be. What is that? And continue talking. And then about 5 minutes in, we realized we didn't say, hello, I'm James, and hello, I'm Selma. He walked in from Montreal, me from Cardiff. I was like, we should just say hello, maybe. Like, yeah, fine. I know, this is working. We don't have to do that. But it doesn't always happen. You worked on many projects where it's kind of we are all just have to really focus at being understood because there's no shorthand. And it doesn't mean that the result is lesser. It just, being in that room feels like much more effort then. And it's a different skill.
It is. It's that ability to kind of get into that common language and drop in with someone. And again, if we come in with our ideas, we're vulnerable. We're in a vulnerable space because they're imaginings and they're part of how we've been framing something and putting energy and focus into something, and to try to expect that to be in synergy with someone right away. That kind of building of that relationship, going on this epic journey of building an epic piece like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's all these moving parts that have to hopefully come together, and being able to find that creative space where people feel like they can bring their ideas to the table, but as you say, also have those ideas questioned, challenged, reshaped, reformed is part of that process.
Yeah, and it's very, very clear with this cast in particular that it's one of the bravest ensembles I've ever worked with, because they would just do things, completely random things, sometimes completely stupid things. And you can look at it and go, no, that's bad. Don't do that ever again. And they would go, okay. And then do 3 more of those. And then do 4 amazing, incredible, brilliant things, which would have never happened if they didn't do, because you don't know you're going to succeed, or I would do something. And then everyone would go, that just doesn't work, does it? And I go, yeah, no, it doesn't. And we all know it. And you go, okay, well, but it's not on me to make it work. And it's not on them to make it work. It's on us together to make it work. So there's no kind of judgment. There's no one coming and going, here it is, my masterpiece.
Well, one of the things that I've found in working together with you is that there are a lot of directors that you ask a question, and whether or not they know the answer, they will tell you the answer. They will tell you how to get from point A to point B. And one of the things that I've loved about your process is that you have this quiet confidence of being able to say, we don't know that answer right now. We're going to figure out that answer. You trust the process, and in turn it makes us trust the process. Is that something that's always been a part of your work, or is that something you had to learn how to do?
I think both, because I come from Eastern European theater. We'd have rehearsals that would last 3-4 months, a bit like here. But then you would start a show and it would be in rep, and you would do it for 5-6 years sometimes. So there's always this idea that, not that there is time, but we can try things, we can test things. Seeing things and testing things. And then working in British theatre, it's very different, obviously. I used to have my company, ensemble is a bit too grandiose, a group of people that I work with a lot. But what's really tricky in British theatre is this small amount of time we have, where you have a text and you have 4-week rehearsals, similar in Canada and in various other places. And you have to make a decision and you have to believe in it, because you don't have time to try 3 different ones. So there is something about teaching yourself not to panic, training yourself not to panic, training yourself to trust that you have people in the room who are better than you at finding solutions of what to do in the space, but also being quite relentless with everyone and yourself. And just to clarify, so Kelly is part of, we're working together. Kelly's obviously playing Aslan in the show, so we've been in the middle of it together, all 3 of us, for months. There was many time in the rehearsal room where I was a bit like, I just want to rehearse this scene. I want to rehearse it. I want to set it. And then think, but it will look completely different once we're not moving flimsy little door stand-ins, but are moving these incredibly heavy, imposing units on stage. And I don't want to spend a day and a half now rehearsing something which, once I see it on stage, will tell a completely different story. And then how do you hold your nerve and go, I know I'll have only a day and a half on stage, but if we do it then, it will be much better than if we do something now and then try to smoosh it into something else. And it's scary.
Sure, we've got the rep. Your rehearsal period is over a long time, but it's quite a tight rehearsal period, just over a long time, and trying to keep the ideas in a position where you can explore them, trying to create enough of a framework that you can move forward. As you say, why block it in the room? It's on stage where I want to see how it actually sits and lands and things like that. I really appreciate how fluid you are in that, because it means as designers, when we're seeing things on stage, we can then come and go, oh, what if we turn this way, or we do this like this? And that's still an open conversation.
I think there's something that I'm learning as a parent, and maybe it's something that we're talking about here, is that if my daughter falls and scrapes her knee and we rush to her and we tell her, oh, it's okay. Are you okay? And we kind of panic a little bit. Then she gets worried. But if we act like nothing is wrong, then the knee isn't a big deal. And I think that we actors might be a little bit like toddlers in the sense that we really take on the energy of the people who are leading the room. And because, Selma, you walk into the room with confidence and you tell us, we're going to get there. Everything's going to be okay. We don't doubt that for a moment. We know that it will. Whereas if you had told us that our knee was a little bit bruised, then maybe we'd be a bit more panicky.
I love that. At the moment, I'm trying to write a book about parenting and directing and the similarities. But what I really want to be clear, I never want to feel like anyone thinks that I think of actors as kids. On a human level, there's something about being able to be open enough, as kids are, as artists are, I believe, in the right way, to go, I will respond without filter and without noise and without friction to what is happening in the moment. I won't bring my baggage. I won't bring my assumptions. I will be open and just react. And because actors have that, that's why they can do the thing they do. But having that in the world and having that in the room it feels like it's a huge responsibility for me as a director to walk in. The way I walk in, what music we choose when we warm up, the way you talk about the weather, it all affects how these people who have walked into the room and go, I'm here without a filter in order to be able to do my job well, then we have to look after it because someone's in front of you without protection. Because otherwise people start building up walls and then their performance is full of walls. And I think that there's something real, something very, very similar to parenting. I think you're absolutely right, Kelly. It's about reaction. But it's also about going, I'm going to carry this for you. Like, I'm going to carry this bit of the job for you. I might redefine what your job is in this point, because sometimes actors expect me to kind of solve the scene and go, this is how it's going to be. And I'm so convinced, I'm 100% convinced that actors can do that better than I can. But what I can do better is hopefully create a space where they think and behave and act in a way that results in a well-staged scene.
Selma, you're here with your whole family. Is that right?
I am, yes. My partner's in Hong Kong currently, I think, or somewhere. I'm here.
Loose on the world. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes. And my two kids are here, 3 and 5, and they've been here for 10 weeks now with me. Loving it here.
So my question is, if there's people coming with their families to Niagara-on-the-Lake, have you found any gems that you would be like, oh, this is great, or this is a great thing to do?
I think for us, it's parks and the lake and just being out and roaming. And what's wonderful here, because they go to a nursery here, every time we go to any park, there's always friends there and there's always kids. And even if they don't know them, because it feels like a small, safe, lovely, pretty place, the kids just end up playing with each other, which means that we just get to sit down and relax for a minute.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay, Judith, I just want to ask about Sorrel and Stitchwort, which is your beautiful textile company. You make all of these amazing things. I just wanted to ask you to just tell us a little bit about what that is and where we could find it if we wanted to go looking for it.
What is that?
Passion project. Let's call it a passion project.
Yeah, it is my passion project. It's also my sanity, because doing it's about natural dye-in on textiles and printing. It's a solo thing. I can only do it by myself. I love it because it's process-driven. It's actually not about a result in the same sense as my other work, as you know, in terms of opening night. It doesn't have opening nights, which is fantastic.
Or reviewers coming to trash your work.
Well, sometimes it still has that.
Oh, who dares? I only get compliments on the beautiful scarf that I have. So everyone stops me and says, where did you get this? And I tell them, this is a Judith Bowden.
Well, and also it's a mix. My dad spent his career as a microbiologist. So I think he and I both have an obsession with how science and art like to play together. And he's always had that kind of an obsession. And that kind of textile work, it's all chemistry. It's all biology, because it's all about how the plants behave. And it's also about all the fabrics are made from plants. So there's all the history of all of that. So I get to play with things that sort of cross over. I can geek out with my dad when I'm doing it, and he's very happy to geek out about those things. Jeff and Molly are not so keen on having it
take over the house.
There's a lot of boiling of things that smell strange. But they're very used to it now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually I'm doing 2 textile markets. There's one in June and then another one in September.
And where's the June one?
The June one is in Picton.
Uh-huh. And the next one?
The other one is in Almont, which is sort of near Ottawa.
It's Ottawa, on its way to Ottawa, yeah.
And it's both of them are run by other textile geeks. So it's a kind of like Selma's description of, everybody meeting in the park and all just joining and playing. It's exactly the same thing. It's, a whole bunch of geeking out people.
That's awesome. Okay, so people are on the road. They've bought their tickets. They're on the way to see Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Possibly have also booked that pre-show workshop, which is also amazing. And maybe their kids are going to go and do something that's going to get them engaged with the show before they arrive. But here they are. They're sitting in the theater. What's something they could watch for? What's a little moment or something that was special to you? Or is there something that just maybe keep an eye out for this?
I think mine is watching the kids, the Pevensey kids. If you keep an eye on the Pevensey kids and what they're up to, it's kind of clues as to what you might find or see later.
Very good. Selma?
I genuinely have no idea. It's because
just come and enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah, come enjoy the whole thing. You tell us what you noticed afterwards.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll get them to email us at podcast@shawfest.com and they can send us what they saw, which would be fantastic to hear from folks. We are going to wind it up. We're going to say a huge thank you to both of you. It's the most chaotic time that we could have asked you to come and do this with us. So it's a great honor for us in launching this series. It's been really fabulous chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. It's always fun.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is playing until October 4th. Tickets available at shawfest.com.
A big thank you to Selma Dimitrijevic and Judith Bowden for joining us on the road today. And thank you, as always, for listening. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to say hello, drop us a line at podcast@shawfest.com.
Let's Get This Shaw on the Road is hosted by Alexis Milligan and produced by me, Kelly Wong. Original music by Travis Cito. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to us right now. Follow the show to get new episodes in your feed every Thursday. And if you're enjoying it, leave us a review. It helps others discover the show and join in on the conversation.
Next week, we are joined by Mike Nadajewski and Julia Kors. We'll chat about what it's like to act in a comedy and about the hilarious farce, Tons of Money.
See you then.
Let's get this show on the road.